And just let me know, Cass, when most of the in.
Give me 30 seconds.
Oh, sure, of course.
And good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. We're watching the participants join the webinar, and we'll get started here in a moment.
Cassie, just let us know if it seems like when we've hit critical mass.
Slowly increasing, but right now we're at 28 attendees.
Is there anyone sitting in a waiting room or anything, or they're just slowly trickling in?
Just slowly trickling in.
Okay, well, maybe we can get started. It's 5:30. We have a good number of people, and people will keep coming in for sure. Good evening, everybody. My name is Nicole Burnham. I'm a Deputy Director with the Department of Parks, Recreation, and Neighborhood Services with the City of San Jose, and I'm joined by a few colleagues that I'm going to introduce momentarily as we go through a presentation, but I'm going to start screen sharing in 1 second, and we will go through a presentation and get ourselves going here. So everyone can see that presentation? Couple of notes before I start. The chat function is working, but as we go through, if you have questions, use the Q&A section, not the chat. And we'll log those questions and we can make a record of them. We'll export them and we'll have them on hand. So just a quick note about that as we get started. So we're here to talk about Guadalupe River Park and Gardens and what we're calling our Phase 1 outreach plan. We do thank you all for being here. We have, at the last count when I saw there was about 30 people here. So, and for this evening's meeting, we're going to go through an introduction to the team. We're going to talk about why we're here, give you some background on the space that we're talking about, talk to you about the vision we're building of the future for this space, and then there will be opportunity for public comment, and we'll talk to you about next steps at the end. The meeting's being recorded, so FYI, and we will post a recording of it at the website that's noted here. We'll also post a copy of this presentation on that website as well. Give me one moment, I skipped a slide. There we go, the introduction of the team. So I mentioned earlier, I'm Nicole Burnham. I'm a Deputy Director with the Department of Parks, Recreation, and Neighborhood Services. I'm joined this evening by Eve Zudi, who's a Division Manager on my team, and Willa, who's an Associate Landscape Architect with our team, and Jason is the Executive Director of Guadalupe River Park Conservancy. So you'll hear from each of us throughout this presentation. We'll also acknowledge that we have a number of partners helping and supporting with this project, both within the Department of Parks, Recreation, and Neighborhood Services, but also our friends at the Norman Mineta Airport and also the Department of Housing, who are working to help us manage this space. So just a few notes as we start the meeting. To be clear, this isn't intended to be a meeting about homelessness. We know the site has been the location of a large encampment and that there are ongoing efforts by city staff to manage this area. But tonight's, the encampments and the need for homeless services are not the topic of tonight's discussion. We've provided resources below where you can learn more about the work being done to clean up the property, and also resources in the event that you're experiencing homelessness or if you need to report an encampment. Our focus tonight is really on the vision and the future of this space rather than its recent past. We encourage you to help us set a vision for the public space that serves everyone and by being courteous and respectful in your comments. There are a large number of people here in the audience tonight. We won't be commenting and providing feedback on every comment that's made. Rather, we'll be listening and taking in the feedback. We do plan to end the meeting at 7, as we noticed in the invitation. But we'll also be telling you about a survey that some of you may already have seen, but that will allow you to provide some additional feedback outside of the meeting. So why are we here? This area, as I mentioned earlier, has been the subject of much attention and activity in recent months. Most recently, on October 19th, City Council heard an item regarding the potential installation of fencing around the gardens as a way to secure the area and prevent encampment. Council encouraged a different course of action and provided the direction below in addition to other direction. Tonight, we're here to talk, explore, is part of our effort to explore creative programs and options and engage stakeholders in a discussion about the future of the area and honoring the direction we were given from council. So as we launch into this discussion, we want to set a little bit of context. We want to acknowledge that we are moving quickly through an outreach process on a large piece of park property here. Planning and design of a 40-acre site for parkland would normally take us 18 to 24 months, if not longer. That's not our goal with this outreach. We're not designing an entirely new park. Our outreach is focused on identifying potential quick build solutions that we're calling phase 1. We anticipate that ideas will come from this that will require more thought and planning. And so are considering a phase 2 of the project that will address ideas that may require more time to implement. And you'll see us talk about those later in the presentation. We also want to acknowledge that we don't know everything we need to yet about this site. Studies of soil contamination are ongoing. We expect to have those done in early 2022, and that the results of that may influence what we can and can't do with this property. We also plan to use what we learn here and through the survey to develop cost estimates for construction of amenities and park features, but we haven't identified funding for those yet. We also know that long-term maintenance funding for the park will be recommended based on the feedback we received this evening. So just to set context and make sure we all are talking about the same space, Guadalupe River Park and Gardens is a 250-acre park in downtown that was originally conceived in the 1960s. In 1987, council recommended development of this urban park and space. We think of it in three distinct areas. And so this graphic on the screen, north is to the left. You can see the end of the airport runways here down at the bottom left corner of the screen. And you see Highway 87 as kind of an orangish line running through. So when we're thinking about Guadalupe River Park, we're thinking about everything from Discovery Meadow, the Guadalupe River Trail, Arena Green, the Little Italy area, more sections of Guadalupe River Trail, all the way up to Coleman. We think of the Guadalupe River Trail also through here, the edge area right along Highway 87. And when we're talking about Guadalupe Gardens, we're really talking about this kind of central area that's bounded by Coleman and bounded by Heading Street to the north. And this is going to be the area of our focus for this evening. So flip to orientation on you there a little bit. North is now to the top of this sheet, this page, with Highway 87 over here on the right and Heading Street to the top and Coleman on this left side. Some of you may know Columbus Park, which is a historic park. It actually predates the creation of Guadalupe Gardens. Guadalupe Gardens has a master plan that was dated in 2002. There was environmental clearance given for that, meaning it has an environmental impact report that authorized construction of park amenities. Eve's going to tell you a little bit more about that in subsequent portions of the presentation. But this property fund ultimately was acquired with funding from the Federal Aeronautics Administration when some improvements were being made to Mineta Airport. So there's approximately 30 acres of Guadalupe, what we consider Guadalupe Gardens, and that is developed. And that is this area south of Taylor Street that includes the Heritage Rose Garden, as well as the Rotary Play Garden. This area outlined in yellow is approximately 40 acres in area, and that's the area we are talking about tonight, and that's the area we're focusing on with this discussion. And with that, I'm going to turn it to Jason Su, who is the Executive Director of Guadalupe River Park Conservancy, so that he can give us a little background on his organization.
Great. Thank you, Nicole. Good evening, everyone. My name is Jason Su with the Guadalupe River Park Conservancy. Our mission is to provide community leadership for the active use and development of the Guadalupe River Park and Gardens. The development of the Guadalupe River Park and Gardens master plans do guide our work, and our partnership with the city aims to support the park stewardship and operations ongoing, as well as the development of the park in the future. Our role is to leverage our nonprofit partnership to facilitate the engagement and support for the river park, and we hope to see a river park that really helps uplift communities and really improves the quality of our lives through parks. And so we're excited to be part of this process. We're excited to see all the attendants here, and we look forward to continuing this conversation. And I will turn it over to you for the to go next.
Thank you, Jason and Nicole. Eve Zudi, Division Manager with the Department of Parks and Recreation Neighborhood Services. So as we look at this project, we're doing it in an expedited way. We want to have a proposal in front of council here pretty soon, but we're going to follow a path, and that's first to investigate what we have available to us here in the gardens. And there's opportunity and constraints like any plan. And for us, the constraints are we need to investigate the operational conditions that the airport needs as this is its approach to the runway, and also any FAA conditions that had once caused the removal of a neighborhood in this area. So we want to make sure we understand those very carefully so we don't propose something that might be contrary to that guidance. We're also looking at that 2002 master plan that Nicole discussed, and the initial study that cleared it for environmental development. And so those documents will be something we look at after this meeting and after seeing your input to make sure we look at all viable solutions that could be implemented here. Then we're going to inquire, which means we're going to look at those viable recreational options. We're going to look at the surrounding parks and the neighborhoods in the area to see what are unmet recreational needs that might be well served here. And the intent there is if people want to do something in the surrounding area and they can find it here, then we have a natural audience. So that would be ideal in terms of laying out this project. And then part of this meeting and the survey, which we encourage you to take, is to look at what the community would desire in a park space. And then we're going to define the project. So we're looking at the types of improvements. You're going to be seeing, as Willa presents, very large scale solutions. We may have the largest dog park in the region, as one example. So we want to think big here. We then want to double check then once we start to settle on some ideas, go back to the airport, the FAA conditions and the master plan, and make sure that they're all allowed through those processes. And then we will properly scope, prepare cost estimates, and look at what it would take in terms of schedule to deliver a project. And then finally, and this is coming up quickly, near the end of January in 2022, we'll be presenting that interim concept to the City Council for their review and input. So as we look at the space, we're thinking about the things that we will be complementing and leveraging in the park. There's some really nice attractions in the Guadalupe River Park and Gardens. They include the Heritage Rose Garden, which is the largest of its kind in the nation. The Guadalupe River Trail is 3 miles to the Guadalupe River Park, but extends 6.4 miles out to Alviso, so you can ride your bike from the bay to downtown. The Rotary Play Garden is a great attraction. It's an all-inclusive playground that is accessible to all children. And then there's the community garden, the Guadalupe Community Garden in the gardens. And so all of these assets draw people, and they're a good sense of what we could develop in the park. Then as we look then on the counterpart of that is what are the site challenges? And right now, as an undeveloped area of about 40 acres, there are no attractions to speak of. It's bare land, and the roadways that are still there. And so there isn't something to draw people there necessarily. What we've seen in recent years is vehicular trespassing. So cars are driving onto the site and onto the trail. And so that's an issue we need to challenge. We're seeing dumping on the site, and we're seeing encampments. And then we're looking at our data. We've been collecting data on the Guadalupe River Trail for 15 years. And if we look at the Coleman Avenue Count Station, which is just a few hundred feet north of Jason's organization's visitor center, we saw over the years usage of the trail system grow on a regular basis. Starting in 2018, we saw a drop in that usage, and then in 2021, our most recent count was this past September. We've seen about half as many users out here. Part of that we might say is COVID and less people riding their bikes to work, but on other trail systems that we've counted, we saw either static or increasing trail usage. So there is something discouraging out here on the trail. And so we're mindful of this data as maybe something that could be a barometer as if this project will improve conditions. And then to go back to these documents we were referring to, the 2002 Master Plan is posted on the Guadalupe River Conservancy website if you would like to look at it, including the initial study. What that document said was we could develop the 40-acre area as a transitory meadow planting area, community garden pathways, and it acknowledged the city's corporation yard that's out there. We've done some initial investigations into this with the firm that prepared these documents, and we believe that if we put in certain types of recreational improvements that don't draw large crowds and make good use, dispersed use of the space, we would be in keeping with these plans, and that would help advance our project quickly. And then we'll be looking at the FAA conditions, which are that there can be no residential uses. That's why the homes had been removed years ago. The activities can must draw less than 120 people per acre. We have to preserve 30% of the area as open space, which is great in a park because that's a real attribute. We want to avoid activities that attract wildlife, so that is why the park itself has a tree budget. We really have to be mindful about not adding more trees that could bring in birds and the risk that brings to aircraft in the area. And then no structures. There are structures along the perimeter of Coleman, which are in place and I believe can remain, but we'd have to be mindful that we can't be looking at pavilions or large gathering spaces of that kind. And I will turn it over to Willa now to talk about some of our quick build improvements.
Thank you, Yves. Good evening, everyone. I'm Willa, and I'm with the city, associate with the city. So we will be going through and looking at some of the design elements and design improvements and solutions of the site. There are several quick build options that the team has come up with, such as a disc golf course, a dog park, some pathways, community garden, and urban agriculture. These improvements we're showing are generally low intensity types of activities that we believe is consistent to the master plan description of park use, and we will discuss on the possible locations of these elements in the upcoming slides. Additional quick build features are nature play and outdoor exercise equipment that will help users to build strength and endurance and improve their physical agility. Installing educational signage along walkways will help park visitors identify the different plants they see in the garden. Other possible improvements is the pollinator gardens, which will help to provide habitat and to reverse the decline of bees and other pollinators. Next slide. Yeah, for the longer term improvements, the amenities could be an art walk, which we will have paintings, sculptures, etc. that is displayed along an easily accessible walkway. It could also be an in-park cafe or concession, an area for flood storage, a restroom, and a bike pump track. There are a few layout options that the team has come up with. So on this map, north is on the left where San Jose International Airport is located at. Highway 87 is the freeway we see on top of the image. And to the west of the Highway 87 is Coleman Avenue, which is shown on the bottom of the map, right? And Columbus Park is right there, right here. And the Target Shopping Center is shown on the lower right corner right here. So for the first layout option, we are proposing some meandering walkway and incorporating it as a fitness loop or as an art walk, where we could display art from local artists along the pathways. And adjacent to the walkway would be a dog park and a disc golf course. In this option, a wildflower meadow is added to this layout. And the wildflowers is not only interesting to look at, they are also beneficial to insects, wildlife, and pollinators, which is also important to our ecosystem. The sizes and location of the dog parks, as well as the disc golf course, are reconfigured in this option. The layout provides the park users a variety of passive and active recreational opportunities here. And in the third option, we're providing park users more open space and areas for urban farming. It is located across from the existing community garden, which is shown as number 3 on this map here. And urban agriculture would contribute to the increased food security and access to healthy and locally grown food sources. It could also provide a place for the community to come together. Back to you, Yves.
Just before Eve starts, sorry, I want to just jump in, and I just want to make clear that the team developed those concepts, but we also recognize they're not the only layout options, that, you know, there's an infinite number of iterations that could happen here. We just wanted to demonstrate a universe of possibilities and sort of how things might fit together.
Thank you, Nicole. Thank you, Willa. And so we've told you we've got this time frame. We're going to deliver this report to council. We need to figure out what our budget is, but even with that in mind, we're trying to be very creative. And I think as you provide us input, I'd ask you to put your creative hat on as well and give us some great ideas. Some thoughts we've had is that on the left here, we're thinking about a dog park, and if we're going to do that, then adding design features on the fencing to really draw awareness that this very large scale area that might look like a fenced open space area would be for dogs, that would have proper signage to direct people on the use of the space. There'd be large space allocated to disc golf. Disc golf is a great option because it's pole, a net, and open space. So it's something that's quite easy for us to develop. Walking loops could have markers, you know how far you've walked through an area. And then so in the middle, we're looking at the likelihood of conventional fencing, like a chain link solution, but working with Jason and the Conservancy, this might be a site to engage artists and children in doing graphical representations that can add richness and a changing vision for the park over time. And then in the lower right-hand image in that central group of images is a more decorative fence. And so we are also identifying in our plan primary entrances in the park so that there's a sense of arrival and a sense of identity for this space. And on the right-hand side, there's a rock maze as seen at the San Francisco Bay. And then there's a large eagle formed from boulders in open space. And this solution creates a passive meditative experience, but it also introduces an alternative way to prevent trespassing through the area. So, and it also gives you an interesting viewpoint as you arrive in San Jose Airport to see what forms might be out on the ground plane. So again, as you give us input, we are very open to ideas. We'd love to hear what you might think we could add to this plan. And then for feedback, we've mentioned there's a survey. So we have a QR code right now. If you want to put your smartphones up to the screen and capture that, or do a screen grab, you'll find the survey at surveymonkey.com/r/Guadalupe Gardens. Or if you visit the Guadalupe River Conservancy website, you'll find a dedicated page for this project where we can keep you posted as we work on this effort. So as we're seeking your feedback, tell us what you like about what you heard, what you didn't like, and what do you think is missing. We're really open to hearing what you think can make this a viable park. We want to see success here, and we definitely need your support and creative ideas to help us envision what that may be.
Thanks, Eve. And I'm going to stop the screen share right now, and I'll let Cassie give us some guidance. We've got one person with their hand raised in the public, and then I see 7 questions in Q&A. So let me read through the Q&A questions while we go through the first speaker. So we are going to limit time or set a timer for 2 minutes. There's almost 60 people in the meeting room. So and if no one wants to talk, we can, maybe circle back to some people, but we'll start at 2 minutes and see how that goes. So Cassie, I'll leave it to you.
Okay, so the first Q&A question is from Perry Ralston, and he asks, if we are looking for low cost, low impact attraction, a disc golf course would be a great idea. Across our 4 courses in the area, we have seen 10,072 unique players since August. And then he followed up that question with, slight correction, that is year-to-date unique players. So our next question in the Q&A comes from Kelly Snyder. Can you add more safe pedestrian crossings across Taylor? Traffic on Taylor is too fast. Taylor should be reduced to 1 lane and narrowed down.
Thank you, Cassie. We're taking notes on these items, so we'll record that disc golf and the travel speeds and on-street issues.
Okay. So next question in the Q&A is from an anonymous attendee. There's an unmet recreational need for a public free roller skating park / free outdoor rink. Would that be a consideration for this space? We often get kicked out of tennis courts and basketball courts, so a designated space for people to dance and participate would be great and could include many of those solutions, such as art. Okay. Next question is from Helen Chapman. Would the dog park be built to accommodate large and small dogs?
Yes, that would be the intent.
Next question, JC. Can you discuss parking? Will it be free? Will it be safe?
So parking at this point would be along the perimeter roadways. Part of our plan, we need to look at how much parking is available, but again, we're looking at low intensity usage.
We do also, and some of you may be aware of this, we have work ongoing at Columbus Park for a redesign of that park, and there's parking contemplated with that. So I think we can look in overall context. I don't want to overbuild parking in the park. So we'll look at it in combination and see how much we would need.
Okay. Next question is, it's a short walk from Trader Joe's to Light Rail on First Street, but it feels like a death walk over 87, so noisy and hot and awful for pedestrians. Can the EW connectors heading in Taylor be improved for bike / pedestrians?
I think that's outside of our project area, but we work very closely with the Department of Transportation and their bikeway team. So that's a takeaway. We'll refer to them to see what they can do there.
Okay. From Mike Fox, when would other parts of the park be under consideration for development?
I'd actually be curious to hear Jason's answer to that. I think tonight we're we're really focused on that area north of Taylor, but I think we're open to comments. But Jason, I don't know if you have a thought about that.
Yeah, there are both efforts for development as well as restoration. A lot of the plans are one to really get the park back to its original condition, and also to be an opportunistic partner. So if there are opportunities where we find something, like a grant or an initiative that could really kind of address multiple priorities, we would really want to address it and support it. And so in terms of plans overall, I think we are constantly looking for partners and ways to develop the park. It is the reason the organization got together. And we are both looking through partnerships with the city, with other agencies, as well as opportunities as they arise. And so I hope that answers your question a little bit.
Jason, maybe you could put your email address in the chat.
Yeah.
And I'm also going to put the survey link in the chat as well. I meant to do that earlier.
Okay. Next question is from Kev Heller. I'm a big fan of disc golf because it's so elegantarian and accessible. In making the case for a disc golf course, I think it would be really important to highlight that unlike ball golf, disc golf is free to play. There are no green fees. You need a disc and, well, that's it. You just need a disc.
Thank you for that perspective.
Helen Chapman writes, have you thought about adding pickleball?
I can tell you, we think about pickleball a lot. So we're going to put it on our list and see if that might be something we can do here. There seems to be a great demand for pickleball. And by the way, Nicole mentioned Columbus Park. We're also looking at Columbus Park as a venue for pickleball.
Kelly Snyder writes, oh, I love the roller skating idea, like the Roosevelt Park one. Yes, roller skating, yes. Okay. Brian Adam writes, will safety, additional rangers, etc., be factored into budget? The proposed assets are all great options, but folks will only partake of the area when they feel safe. Thank you.
Cassie, can we go over to some of the people that have their hands raised and come back to comment? Because just let some more people put in comments. Thanks.
Did you want to address the ranger in the budget?
Yeah, well, and I think, I tried to touch on that as we were talking in the presentation about, we acknowledge that this is a site that needs resources, and we will, as we decide what to construct here, we'll be putting forward requests for resources to appropriately manage the area, but we know this area needs additional resources.
Okay, so our first raised hand is from Mike Fox. Please unmute.
Hi, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Great. Yeah, my name is Mike Fox. Look, I was born and raised in Silicon Valley, been a San Jose homeowner for over 26 years, and I'm a big pickleball enthusiast. In fact, I'm at the national championships in Indian Wells right now, where we've got over 2,300 players competing for titles. Pickleball is the fastest growing sport in the USA. It's played in over 60 countries and is trying to become an Olympic sport. The city of San Jose has done a good job in bringing small courts into a number of the parks, small or 2 to 4 court, and using existing tennis courts to some multi-use courts. But pickleball is very different than tennis. It's a very social game, and what people want for pickleball is a complex where we have a lot of courts together, because with pickleball, people show up and like to drop in and play. You play with, different partners and different opponents all the time in the fairly short games. As we looked at the master plan, there is a lot of space available in this park to do a pickleball complex. The FAA regulations may make it challenging in the area that we're discussing today. In looking at the plan, though, it looks like the area between the Heritage Gardens, Heritage Orchard, and the Rotary Playground either between that section or kind of to the side of the Rotary playground, maybe just outside of the safety zones from the airports. And so when that's available to be developed, we'd certainly think that that would be a great place to put a multi-use complex. You know, the pickleball is incredibly popular throughout the Bay Area and throughout the country. And so if we look at the places where it is being played, like Mitchell Park in Palo Alto, there's hundreds of people showing up throughout the day. In fact, any morning, weekdays and weekends, there's hundreds of players throughout the morning and through the evenings. So we'd really like to figure out how we could do something in this larger park plan to create a pickleball complex.
Yeah, Mike, thank you. Yeah, thanks for the comment for sure. And that's why I had Jason put his name in contact in the chat. And so if you can reach out to him, that would be great.
Okay, give me 1 second. I just need to update my timer. All right. And so the next person with their raised hand is David Pandori. Feel free to unmute.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
First, I just wanted to thank the staff for organizing this meeting. I've been following the discussions at the council recently about the fencing option that was first proposed by the airport. I'm just making reference to that because really what we're dealing with here is trying to come up with some quick development solutions that have activities there to discourage the reestablishment of the camps, which are being cleared right now. So I hear things about pickleball and all that, but it's really important to come up with solutions that are consistent with the current master plan and something that's doable quickly. So I'm not going to comment on the 3 options that were laid out by staff. I think they're all really pretty interesting, and I've seen creative ideas, but the couple comments I have, I'll just keep to this. Whatever option you present as the first concept to the council, it has to be designed with security in mind to prevent re-encampments. And I think one of the simplest ways of doing that is use fencing as a decorative aspect of the option that you propose, not the large heavy duty chain link fence with barbed wire that was proposed by staff, but decorative fencing that prevents pedestrians or cars from driving into the area. Number 2, Spring Street needs to be demolished. That was supposed to, I'll tell you this from my city council experience, it was supposed to have been demolished after Route 87 was completed. I dig out the old council memos for you on that, but that's crucial to stop the re-encampments and also allow positive recreation use. So, you know, I got 10 seconds more left. I'm just going to leave it at that. Whatever option you pick, design it in a way to prevent re-encampments.
Thanks, David.
Okay, so our next raised hand is Bob Sapel. Please unmute.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. First thing is Eve's comments. I manage the Guadalupe Community Garden and I'm in a lot of the neighborhoods around. I'm a president of the Rose Garden. And part of the reason that the trails aren't being utilized is the fear for the unhoused. So people don't feel comfortable anymore. I did a poll and I don't have the exact numbers, but that was what came back from it. Also, the city, by the way, has done a great job doing the cleanup on the first 2 areas, but I'm going to be organizing another cleanup where we can do a little more hands-on picking up the little glass and pieces like that to clean that area even more. I've got buy-in from the city on it to a certain extent. I'm just mentioning that in case you feel like when the time comes, you want to come over there and bend over and do a whole lot of work. I agree completely with Mr. Pandori's comments. I'll just leave it at that. And in order to make this work, sadly, we're going to have rangers and or police buy-in on this in order to keep the area safe. And I did that with, holy cow, 57 seconds left.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you. Our next hand is from Cindy Yuang. Please unmute.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
So on the argument for a roller skating park, a few of us on here are roller skaters and are excited about this opportunity. I would like to point out that there are already parks in the South Bay that have disc golf and pickleball available, but there is yet to be a concrete outdoor roller skating space. The one at Roosevelt is using like an inline corrugated floor, and so something like similar to like a tennis court or a Joe DiMaggio playground that is like a full outdoor recreational space that can be used for dodgeball, pickleball, as well as roller skating on wheels would be fantastic and the first of its kind in San Jose. We just got our first roller skating shop in Campbell, Dottie's. And so that is like a really good signifier to like how the growing community is happening out here. And Panther Skate Plaza just was on KPIX advocating for a space at DeVemery Park over the weekend. And at our about 1,000 signatures. And we used to post up at Rotunda at City Hall to have like several hundred skaters during the pandemic. It's one of the largest moving recreational movements, and we've been covered by the Metro, and it would be the first of its kind. So with some time left, I would just like to say that we could be initiating like a sport that spans generations, different ethnicities, ages, and a sport that is based around like sobriety and safety, because you can't really do anything crazy on wheels if you're not fully present. And is also a celebration of like Black culture and minorities all around the Bay Area. Thank you.
Thank you. So our next raised hand is going to be Helen Chapman. Please unmute.
Hi there. Thank you for inviting me to attend this meeting and to allow me to just share a couple of thoughts. I can't emphasize enough that whatever you put, and I'm not sold on any particular thing, but it must be active, 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 active. This space without activity, without people in it, is causing some of the problems that we have today. So we need more eyes on the street. We need more people participating, whether it's pickleball, whether it's roller skating, whether it's a dog park, and the largest dog park you could have. I think the more activity we have in this space, the better off we would be. I remember those plans because I was a park commissioner. So I remember those plans that you showed on the first slide. Unfortunately, I'm aging myself. But I think to our detriment is that when that plan was originated, we didn't put in, a temporary or a use that was active. And so that's probably what allows some of this to happen. Anyway, thank you.
Sorry. So our last raised hand is from Jim. Please unmute.
Am I unmuted?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I'm with the Silicon Valley Disc Golf Club. We've been around for about 24 years. One of the locations that we opened up is called Parque de la Raza. It's part of the Hellier complex. That particular golf course attracted a lot of turf wars and gangs and a lot of trouble in that neighborhood. We moved in there in 2007, and the neighbors were delighted because we brought a lot of people to the site. We bring a lot of witnesses to the course. We'll be there in the morning, the afternoon, and the evenings during the summertime. So that's a real positive for disc golf. Another concern I'd have would be restrooms and how many would be built and when do you think they would be built? Because that will play a key part in getting some women out there as well. And that's pretty much what I want to say at this point. And we have in the past funded all of our disc golf courses. We get the permission, but we go to the disc golf community to raise the funds, and that's the path that we've done all these years. And when we were able to open up the La Raza course, it took us 10 days to raise $10,000 and 10 days to put the course in. It's a 9-hole course. When we opened up the disc golf course at Kelly Park, it was 24 days to raise $24,000. So we have a motivated group, and it's for all ages and all sizes. And again, the equipment is a disc, as one of the previous commentators had said. So that's pretty much it.
Thank you,
this.
Jim.
Yeah.
Thanks for your comments and feedback. Cassie, maybe we can flip over. We do have a couple more hands raised, but maybe we can flip over to there's Q&A, and the written Q&A has been stacking up. Maybe we can look at some.
Give me 1 second. All right. So Kelly Snyder would like to know, is the carousel moving to the park?
Jason, you want to take that, or do you want me to?
I can take that.
Okay.
It's not part of this project specifically. There's still conversations and plans to move it. And we'll learn more as the project moves forward, but I think the plan is still there, just not part of this one.
Okay, so Jim did ask, when would restrooms be available and how many will be built?
I think because we're focused on an interim solution right now, and we're mindful about structures, we really have to look at when and how that would be possible. I think with this current approach, it would be something we'd have to look at in future phases.
Bob Levy, an interpretive nature trail would provide habit, education, and recreation. How would the FAA condition impact the creation of a natural trail?
From our review of the FAA documentation, and it's very cursory at this point, we think it is very much in keeping with the master plan and guidance for low intensity use.
Alyssa writes, seconding the outdoor roller rink idea, it would reduce water usage for the area and would be drought efficient. Next is from Kev Heller. Is there a place where we can sign up for email updates on this project?
Jason, do you want to catch this one?
Yeah, I'm going to put our info email that, and then we'll keep you posted on the project. So I'm gonna add that to the chat.
And Jason's team has created a web page for this project where you can find more details.
Giovanni writes, considering the city of San Jose has an upcoming RFP for an airport connector, have you been able to get a sense of the public's thoughts on a possible transit connection traveling through this part of the park towards downtown?
I can take that one sort of. We're aware of the connector. We sit with the airport team and have been on their technical team looking at that. I have to admit, I don't know what the public engagement protocol is going to be for that project yet. If anyone on airport is on the call and is able to chime in on that, they can raise their hand. We'll get an answer.
All right, see 8 more here. Cindy writes, what about a large multi-purpose blacktop surface similar to Joe DiMaggio Playground in San Francisco? Can be shared for roller skating, pickleball, dodgeball, etc. Also save water on having grass.
Hey, Cassie, I see Matthew has raised his hand from airport, and he might be able to answer that question about the connector. Maybe we can pull him over as a panelist.
Okay, give me 1 second.
And on the suggestion about a large blacktop area for multi-sport, we've recorded that, and we'll see if we can do such a project.
And Matthew is on the panelist side.
Yeah, Matthew, did you want to weigh in on the connector project?
Sure. The connector is still in its early stages, so it's a little bit too soon right now to determine exactly how and where. I know that the RFP itself is still going out, or actually the request for information around it is still going out. So we don't have an exact path that would go between the two yet. That's still in progress. So, but it certainly is something that we are monitoring and keeping options open. So we're aware of that. So thank you for bringing that up.
Okay. So another anonymous attendee wrote, native gardens and urban agriculture would love to have space for people to learn about the land we live on and how important it is moving forward to care about that land, especially if we are going carbon neutral by 2030. Kelly writes, also build lots of new housing and services so there's a place for house people to live. And then she also writes, yes, good point, Cindy. We have pickleball and disc roller skating will be great addition. Sorry. Dave Pandori says, Jason, the airport funded a tractor that was used by the Guadalupe Conservancy for maintenance. Do we still have it?
I'm not familiar with us operating or owning a tractor, though there may be a tractor for the maintenance that perhaps is facilitated by the city. We don't currently have a tractor. Again, this may also be in the past, and perhaps there was a tractor at that time.
Ken writes, kudos to the disc golf group for the quick activation and community involvement. Agree with what Mr. Pandori and Ms. Chapman said. And then David writes, there's an opportunity to plant native wildflowers to take advantage of the winter rains, assuming they come. The cost of seed is very inexpensive. I'd like that option to be considered on a timeline before the rainy season is over. Larry Ames, please use native plants best suited for our climate and supports native insects and wildlife. Last Q&A before we go to raised hands is San Jose's strategy against bad elements has notoriously been put a fence around it. First off, I applaud this quick, innovative approach to a tough issue. Great job. Okay, so I'll go over to the raised hands. And the first raised hand is from Aldery Middlebrook. Please unmute.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you very much for inviting me and our members to this meeting. I'm the executive director of the California Native Garden Foundation. And we are going to propose, and it's mentioned several times here, the possibility of building a large regenerative farm would be a very active use of the land. And it will also help San Jose, be the first large city in America to be carbon neutral by 2030. I think all the ideas are great, and I think that they could all be incorporated with good design. But the idea of a regenerative organic farm with native hedgerows and native gardens is really a part of the solution for cities in changing land use. A 10-acre farm, regenerative agriculture farm, can feed 500 people that live within walking distance of this farm. It holds carbon in the soil. It also cuts down on carbon emissions. And we are partnering with the San Jose Evergreen Community College District to create jobs, new jobs in Santa Clara County and San Jose that really don't produce more fossil fuel. They're actually disassociated with fossil fuel. We started an initiative called Build 25 by 25. And this came out of our work as consultants on the Agrihood project that's breaking ground. Now that has a low income housing component.
Thanks. Thanks, Alri,
Sure.
for your comments. We appreciate it. We can maybe able to come back to you if we get through the rest of them. And definitely encourage you to take the survey for sure.
Okay. So no more raised hands. I'll go back to the Q&A. There's now 3. Bob Levy, why is the BMX track in phase 2? Yes, on disc golf and community garden.
And the BMX course takes a lot of engineering and we just have to make sure that that would be consistent with the master plan, but that's going to take further investigation.
Okay. So Jenny at packbell.net. How about bocce ball, volleyball, croquet, etc. for seniors? Need something for seniors that can be quickly set up. Okay. And our last question from Melissa. I like option 2. I want to make sure that connectivity to the river is done thoughtfully. Honor the natural environment and its connection to human well-being. And that's all we have for Q&A and raised hands.
Wow, we got through that. When I saw 60 people at the start of the meeting, I wasn't quite sure if we'd get through all the public comments. So I think we're good. If there's any last minute thoughts that people want to share, we're happy to take them. Otherwise, we'll go ahead and sign off and end the meeting and just thank you. We deeply appreciate the time you spend with us and the thoughts and input you're providing. Definitely, we will be working closely with Jason and his team in the coming months to decide what our next move should be here. Actually, we do have one last slide of next steps, which I almost forgot about, just so I can get that in front of you.
And Nicole, as you're pulling that up, just so it's on the recording, if you would like to stay updated via email, do email us at info@grpg.org and we'll collect your addresses there.
So in terms of next steps, we do expect to be at council January 25th, 2022. I don't expect we're going to have all of the answers and I don't expect we're going to have a full design plan, but we will at least be reporting on the results of this initial work and what our next steps will be. The survey that I put in the chat, I put a link to that in the chat earlier. It's open through December 19th. Please share it. Feel free to share it widely. The URL is there as well as the QR code. And as I mentioned earlier, we'll go ahead and put this up on Jason's website that he has for the project, so you'll have access to it. And I will leave this actually opportunity to Jason to put in a plug for some of his programs if you want to get more involved in the park.
Totally. Thank you, Nicole. In the same email, info@grpg.org, we have a lot of volunteer opportunities, whether you want to be a trail ambassador, whether you want to help with our Heritage Rose Garden. We always need support with our events and our office. We love connecting with our community in terms of special projects that you may want to see. This park is your park and we want to encourage civic ownership of it. And so we would love to find all the different diverse ways we connect you to the park and to each other. So thank you.
So with that, I will wrap it up. There's one more comment in the chat from Alri, following up on her comments about regenerative organic farms. But we are going to log all of the chat as well, correct, Cassie? We export it and we'll have a Word document made of it, so we'll capture that.
Yes.
So she's talking about farms that would be used for teaching, training, and research and linked to solutions for climate change. So I think with that, we can let everybody go back to their evening. Again, thank you all so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you, everyone.